listening to The Whisper Poet. I'm your host, coming to you live from your favorite ASMR station. In tonight's segment, we will be discussing 5 ASMR films, or I should say films that have ASMR elements in them that you can just put on and drift off to sleep. If you are new here, there is another video on my channel that is a part 1 to this series. Will it be an ongoing series? Time will have to tell. So beginning with our first film, we have A Ghost Story. Contrary to the title, it's not super scary. It's not really a horror film. It's called A Ghost Story because it's about a woman who loses her husband and he haunts her. That's all I'm gonna say, but when I tell you this movie is it's almost soothing in a way, and it's not loud, it's very calming, and there are long scenes and shots of one person just doing a very mundane thing. You'll understand when you see that it's quite relaxing despite the title. So let's get some information on A Ghost Story. So this film was released by A24 and directed by David Lowery. It came out January 22nd, 2017, and our two main cast members are Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck. So definitely worth a watch. Not only is it an interesting story, but it's just really calming. It's definitely a film I would say you could put on and fall asleep, and not in a bad way. And it's also apparently it's labeled as romance fantasy, so there's that. It's not at all a horror film, so I probably could have put this film in my romance horror video that I put out on Valentine's Day. Check that video out. Definitely a lot of good recommendations there. But yes, A Ghost Story. The title might make you feel like it's a horror, but it's not. in film list. So there you have it. There you have it. Spencer. Moving on. We have a film called Charulata. Charulata. Just really light sounds and soft speaking throughout this entire film. It honestly, I don't even know what the main plot of the movie is because every time I put it on, I fall asleep. But I would say I've probably gotten through 40 minutes of the movie and have seen it be consistently very quiet, and if there is any dialogue at all in the scene, they're speaking quite softly. So there you have it, Charulata. Now this is an older film. It is an Indian film directed by Satyajit Ray, and it came out July 4th, 1974, but it's set in 1870s India, and it's called Charulata. The plot, according to Google, is in 1870s India. Charulata is an isolated, artistically inclined woman who sees little of her busy journalist husband. Realizing that his wife is alienated and unhappy, he convinces his cousin Amal to spend time with Charulata and nourish her creative impulses. Amal is a fledgling poet himself, and he and Charulata bond over their shared love of art. But over time, a sexual attraction develops with heartbreaking results. So, if I weren't so often falling asleep during this movie, I'd probably find it really interesting, just based on what we just read. But every time I put it on, I start falling asleep like 30-40 minutes in. So that's why it makes the ASMR and film list. So that was Charulata. Movie number 4. We have a film called The Earrings of Madame D. So, this is an older film as well. This was released in 1953, and it is a romantic drama, similar to the previous one as well, also a romantic drama. The Earrings of Madame D. This was directed by Max Ophuls, and it is a French film. So the previous one was in Hindi, this one is in French. So both of the two most recent films I just discussed are foreign films. So if you're interested in actually watching the entire movie from start to finish, you'll need subtitles. So the plot is, this film follows a pair of earrings as they change hands during a series of betrayals and romances. So pretty interesting. Whenever I put this on, I probably get through again maybe 30 minutes and then I fall asleep. So I cannot attest to the last 40 minutes of the movie, but I can say what I did see, a good half hour of it was enough to relax me. Now in the beginning, there is a score, because it's got that old-timey credits where it's like showing like all the, names of the individuals who worked on the movie, and it's like a slideshow of cards, and it's old, and it's got like an old French tune playing, and that part can be a little loud, so maybe turn that part down. But then as soon as it starts, it's quite relaxing.
Ce qui est ennuyeux, c'est qu'il me les a donnés au lendemain de notre mariage.
movies. So